Go ahead and start the meeting. Welcome everybody to the June technical meeting. Dalton's going to be showing us the new field guide and then starting the new field guide training, I think, toward the end of the meeting. Anyway, but before we get started with that, just wanted to go through our production for last month, if I can make my computer work. So this is the chart I've been using every month for the year. As of the end of May, it looks like we have a total of 336 units. And the goal of 416, so we're shy of the goal. And then if you look ahead for next month, for the total production required units, as of right now, we will need 117 completions during the month of June. So we've got a huge lift to get there. I don't know that we will get there, but we're asking each of you to do all that you can to help us get as close as possible. If your agency has met your goal, if there's any way you can turn in extra units, please do so. With that, just a little bit of caution. Please don't turn in garbage at the end just to get it done. When Dalton and I come out next year for monitoring, we are going to be looking at some of the production that comes in during this last quarter of the year, because there has been that concern that we might be pulling stuff across the finish line and not doing quite as good a job on that work as we do throughout the rest of the year. So make sure and keep your standards up, but also do all that you can to get the completions that we need. Any questions on the production from anyone? All right, let me just look at, so here's the agenda. Just a reminder, the Rocky Mountain Center of Occupational and something Environmental Health, they are doing asbestos training this month. So if you have any interest in that, you'll want to hit their website. The IWTC, I was just looking at our calendar. It looks like Wade has calendared RMGA for August. I'm not sure who's on the list for that. And then we also have a couple of just bookmarks for some Tier 1 training that we'll let you know once we've dialed those in. You guys aware of any other training opportunities that would be good for the network to know about? All right. Then just two other things before we turn the time over to Dalton. Our next technical meeting, the first Tuesday of the month, will be July 3rd. If you're aware of any major conflicts, if you're going to have most of your people gone, just shoot me an email, let me know. But as of right now, we'll just plan on having it on July 3rd. July 4th is a Wednesday, so I don't think that everybody will be gone on the 3rd. And then if you are, you can watch it when you get back, because that'll be fun. And then the other thing I wanted to show really quickly was just something I probably should have mentioned in yesterday's auditor meeting. This came up on an audit I was looking at a month or so ago, and I just wanted to point it out, especially to anybody who's running audits, just to be aware of it. When you're running an audit and you're putting in insulation in an attic, you do not want to use the added R value field. If you do, it makes that insulation a required measure. So if you'll notice here, we've got there's 15 measures there, and we've got an attic with 12 inches of insulation in it. If I was to go in here, say I wanted to bring that up to an R49, if I put that in as, this is going to have an added R value of 12, and I run the audit, it's going to force the measure. It's going to say now that I have 16 measures. And if you'll look at what it does, if I could zoom in, I guess that's as much as I can zoom in. It made measure number 2 is user spec ceiling attic, basically attic insulation. And it only has an SIR of a 0.7. So it's forcing the measure, and it's an insulation measure. So basically it's saying it's recommending you install insulation, but the insulation does not have a payback. So please be careful on that. Don't use this field ever. You can use the max depth field if there's a height limitation. It will limit how much the audit will tell you to put in, but you really should never be using the added R value field. So any questions on that one? All right. Well, if there's no questions on that, we're going to turn the time over to Dalton to give us some training, if I can figure out how to make him the presenter.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Can you see my screen map?
I can.
Just says Utah Weatherization Field Guide.
Yep, I'm able to see it. Are others able to see it?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we got a new field guide. You guys have probably seen a couple emails about it. I sent one out on around the 17th with a copy of the PDF version of the field guide and also the link to the web version of the field guide. And then on the 24th, Brad sent out a weatherization program notice 2018-010 that said that the field guide will be effective on June 1st, so it's already effective. And it's on a 3-year cycle, so the field guide that we have now will be effective till 2021. So, and the reason I sent out the PDF version along with the link to the online is the online's only going to work if you have cell service. So if some of the agencies that work in the rural areas of Utah, if you're going to be out of cell range, you can download that PDF version to your tablet or smartphone. It's not going to be as user-friendly as the online version is, but at least you can have the document if you don't have a printed version of it. And I just put this section of our guidelines on here, this D1-2-A, just to remind us of what the purpose of the field guide is. And it says the field guide will serve as the technical standard to which weatherization work will be done. So I want you guys, just as you read through the field guide and use it, just keep in mind what its purpose is, and let me or somebody at the state know if you guys are finding areas that are contradicting other, like our state guidelines, or where it don't align with SWS or other code books or something. So make sure you guys are letting us know as you find that kind of stuff. But so today we're just going to go over 4 things basically. We're going to I'm going to talk about the variances that we got in our field guide, and that's where we vary from the SWS. So as we went through the field guide, there was a few things that came up where at the state of Utah, we like to do things a certain way, and it kind of varies from the SWS, but it still kind of hits the objective of that SWS detail, but in a different way. So we have to get approval through DOE and on those variances, and we're going to go over what those are. And then we're going to talk about what the agency responsibilities are with the new field guide, and that's basically going to cover getting the field guide out to your contractors and then reviewing and training at your agency with the field guide. And then I'll pull up my web browser and we'll go take a look at the online field guide, and I'll kind of navigate through it and just kind of show you the layout and the features of it. And then we'll talk about what our plan is with reviewing the field guide and kind of moving forward with the field guide, and where you guys can help us out on refining it and stuff. So we'll just start off with the variances. There's three different variances that we got approved, and the first one deals with how a QCI verifies dense packed wall insulation, what methods they use, and we'll go into a little more detail on each of these. And the second one is patching the wall after drill and fill, and then the third one was ambient CO thresholds. So we'll just start with the first one here. So the SWS Detail 4.1103.2C, currently in the SWS it states insulation will be verified to prevent visible air movement at 50 pascals of pressure difference using chemical smoke or other approved verification methods by the authority having jurisdiction. And in our field guide, it states the following, the approved variance, and it's in section 5.31 of our field guide under wall insulation quality control. And it says viewing the wall through an infrared camera, looking through an electrical outlet or other access hole for insulation, and then calculation of installed plate of installed insulation compared to wall cavity volume and required density. So those are the methods that we said will use to verify dense packed wall insulation instead of using chemical smoke and a blower door. Does anybody have any questions on that variance? Nope. I was just going to wait till somebody responded, but all right. So the second one is SWS Detail 4.1103.2E, and it states in the SWS interior holes will be coated and patched to match original interior surface, and we got an approval from that to say. And this is also in section 5.3.1 in the field guide. And it says the insulator, homeowner, and others should agree about the patching method and the final appearance of the wall finish. And when we submitted this to DOE, they came back and said, okay, how are you going to show that you guys came to an agreement? And that's where a wall agreement, I gave them a couple examples of our different agencies that their wall agreements, and sent it to them, and they said, yeah, as long as you're using these wall agreements, that's fine, that we're just going to do one coat of mud and then leave the rest up to the homeowner. So, and that should be getting done at the audit is the appropriate time to do that. But so you do need to use a wall agreement, and so you don't have to return it to its original surface in the home. Does anybody have any questions on this detail or this variance?
I got one.
What's up, Matt?
Is it okay if we coat and patch them to match the original interior surface?
If that's the agreement that they come up with, if the agency is willing to do that. I know in the past, when I worked for Tri-County, there were some times where we had to drill and fill from the outside through some wood siding. And so we had to come to an agreement where we put in those plastic plugs, but we also bought a little bit of paint to match their exterior, and then we painted those plugs so they didn't stand out and look so bad. That was kind of the agreement that we came to on some houses, but
yeah,
so,
I just wanted to point
kind of
that
an
out.
open-ended thing. There's going to be those situations where you may, maybe it's the right thing to do a little extra work. So
Perfect.
Anybody else got any other questions? All right. So the third variance that we got is the SWS Detail 2.0103.1b, and it states ambient CO will be monitored during combustion testing, and testing will be discontinued if ambient CO levels inside the home or workspace exceeds 35 parts per million. And our approved variance, and we got this variance to align us with the BPI 1200 standard. And this appears a few different places throughout the field guide, in the health and safety section, I believe, and in like chapter 8 and stuff. And it says, if ambient CO levels do not exceed 70 parts per million, testing of other appliances and other audit procedures may continue at the discretion of the auditor. So that puts us in line with the BPI 1200 standard, was the reason we got that variance. Does anybody have any questions on that one? All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the agency responsibility. What's that? Oh. Let's see. So the first one is you guys are required, each agency is required to provide all contractors with a copy of the new field guide. And I'm going to read you this section D1.2.c in our state guidelines. And it says, agencies that employ contractors are required to make a copy of the field guides available to the contractor and obtain documentation that they acknowledge receipt and compliance with the document. So your agencies, make sure you guys are supplying the contractors with a copy of the field guide, and of course you could show them, how to access it online if they like to use their smartphone or anything like that. But Brad will follow up on this during I think this is one of his checks during his programmatic monitoring. So this next year, as he's making his rounds, he'll make sure that you guys have signed a signed agreement or signed acknowledgement showing that they did receive that, and that they know they're being held to that standard. And then the next agency responsibility is to hold regular field guide trainings and review. It's probably going to be different for each agency, whether that's a daily thing, if you set aside some time daily or weekly or monthly. But you guys do need to hold some trainings with your staff, because everybody in the program, has a responsibility to know and understand what's in the field guide and the standards that they're supposed to be upkeeping as far as the work's concerned. And there's a need for auditors to know it. So when they're calling out the work, there's a need for the workers to know it so they're installing measures correctly. and then there's a need for the QCIs to know what quality to hold them up to. So, and if you're not doing a consistent study of it, you're going to end up getting hit up on some stuff, probably miss some things. So that's your guys' responsibilities at the agencies. Do you guys have any questions on any of that? All right.
Nope.
We will continue then. All right, so the online version of the field guide, it's what they call a responsive web design, so it fits whatever screen you're working on. So in the picture here, you can see it fits on your iPhone, your tablet, your desktop, and it just changes where the menu is depending on the screen. But let me pull that up. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I'll just go through some of these features here, and it's pretty easy. It's pretty user friendly. Right here, this tab's the table of contents. You've got all 12 chapters of the field guide. You got the appendices, the glossary, and the video library. And if you just click down, it opens up the different sections. I mean, it's pretty easy to go through. And if you click up, it'll go back up. The appendices are, they got like the R values for common materials, dash rate, dot sizing, different kind of charts and stuff. You got this glossary right here. It's kind of like a flat document, but they do have a kind of a searchable glossary that we'll go over in just a minute. And then you've got, in here, you've got your video library. And it shows in here, so there's 23 videos, and it shows what chapter they're in. And they're also, as you're going through the field guide, this is where they're located in the field guide. So, but if you just want to go directly to a video, it makes it nice to have that library. And then this next tab is the index. So if you want to click on a certain, like the assembly improvements, it'll take you right to where it's at in the field guide. So it's just your typical index, nothing too special about that. The glossary, so this glossary up here, the way it differs from that other glossary in the table of contents is if you click on this, it'll give you populate the definitions, and it's somewhat searchable. So you can't space and put in, like, you can't type air barrier because it won't let you do a space, but you can start typing the first word and limit it down. So it's somewhat searchable of a glossary. The next one, this one just takes you home no matter where you're at in the field guide. And also anywhere up here, if you click on any of this header up here, it takes you back to the front page also. So, and then you've got print, and when you print, it'll only print what chapter of the field guide you're in. It's not gonna, like, if I click print there, it's only gonna do the first 3 title pages. Whereas if I click in like chapter 3 and say I go down to chapter 3.6 and I hit print, it's going to bring up all 16 pages of chapter 3. But it's not going to bring up the whole field guide though. So. And then you've got search over here. The thing you want to know about this is so I got wall insulation in there, and if I hit, I got it in quotations, and if I hit search, it's showing 5 results. If I take off these. Now we've got 16 results, and the difference is if you put it in the quotations, it'll search for just the phrase versus each of those words individually. So right now it's searching for those words individually, whereas if I put it back in there, it's searching just for that phrase. So that's your search availability there. This little arrow right here will get your menu kind of out of the way. And then let's see what section we're in. We're in chapter 5. Let's go. So if I'm down here in chapter 5.3.4, if I hit this little blue triangle down here in the corner, it'll take me to the top of the chapter. So whatever chapter you're in, it'll take you to the top. And then if you click up here in the header, you're back to the start. So other than that, does anybody have any questions on the online version of the field guide or using it?
No. Good.
Okay. Let's see here. We'll continue on with all right. So going forward, we're going to try starting to, or we are going to start reviewing sections of the field guide during the technical meeting, and we're not necessarily planning on it taking up the full technical meeting unless it's a larger subject and it has the content to be able to, and it's if that's what we want to do. And it's going to be, we're going to choose sections that either come up during monitoring, or if you guys have sections of the field guide that you would like to review with the technical committee, you need to let Matt Turner or myself know, so we can plan for that. And we're thinking about giving out a section the month prior so everybody can start reviewing it and come back with questions and being prepared to kind of discuss it. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, and we're going to kind of do that. Once I get done with this presentation, I got a section of the field guide that I'm going to pull up, and we're going to kind of review today just to get a little glimpse into it and to see how it flows. And so we'll want your feedback on that. And then this coming year, I'm going to set up a field guide review committee to go section by section through the field guide. We're going to start earlier on it than we did this last go around, just so we have enough time to do an in-depth review. We kind of got rushed on this last one. But just as you guys go through this field guide and you're using it out in the field and stuff, make sure you email me, call me, text me, whatever form of communication you want to use, but let me know if you guys are finding stuff that's conflicting either with like our guidelines or the SWS or anything like that, or if it just don't work in the field. So we want your feedback as you're using it also going forward. So and there again, that's the link to the website version of the field guide. Again, you can give that to your contractors, anybody that needs the field guide to use it. There's my number and email. Make sure you guys let me know as you come across stuff in the field guide. Don't just brush it off. So, does anybody have any other questions about the field guide? And before we review a section.
No, looks good.
All right. All right, so I wanted to review, and this is just going to be a small one. I just want to review just this sealing around manufactured chimneys. Would somebody out there be willing to read this first section right here and these bulletins? Is there anybody out there?
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right.
Sealing around manufactured chimneys. Several types of manufactured chimneys are common in residential buildings. We explain these in manufactured chimneys on page 323. Observe required clearances listed in clearance to combustibles for common chimneys on page 323. Install the chimney's air seal with an insulation shield if you'll retrofit insulation after air sealing. Remove existing insulation from around the chimney. Cut light gauge aluminum or galvanized steel in two pieces with half circle holes for the chimney that create small caulkable cracks. Bed the metal in the sealant and staple, nail, or screw the metal in place. Caulk around the junction of the chimney and the metal and air seal with non-combustible caulk. Cut and assemble a metal insulation shield that creates a 3-inch space between the shield and the chimney and extends above the planned level of retrofit insulation. Move the existing insulation that you removed back into place around the insulation shield before installing the retrofit insulation.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. So do you guys feel like everything's covered there in that that needs to be covered in that section right there? Is there anything that you guys feel is missing on guidance, and does that meet the standard? I feel like
Yes.
there's one thing missing, but
Me too. We haven't watched the video yet.
yeah, we're going to watch the video, but just in those bulletins, one thing that I thought could be a little clearer is making sure that you have that clearance around the sheetrock or whatever the sealing material is prior to putting down the aluminum or the metal. I feel like there could be something about that. What do you guys think? Is that? Because like in this picture, you've got on this side it looks like you got the clearance of 1 inch or so from that chimney, but around the back side, and it could be the angle of the picture, but just one of these bulletins that gave guidance about making sure the material's cut back. Does anybody have any other questions before we watch the video? Or any input?
I have one. Is there a standard for how high above the insulation the shield is supposed to go?
Not that I know off the top of my head. Just that it needs to be above what the insulation is going to be.
Gotcha.
I don't know if there's a standard on how many inches above that. Does anybody else know out there off the top of their head? If there's a certain height?
I suppose we can look for that. And just
Yeah, I just don't know off the top of my head if there is a height. I just know it's supposed to be higher than what the insulation's going to be, but let me hit up this video. And this is a short video. It's only 32 seconds long.
First, clear any insulation away from the chimney using a rake or your hand. Then cut 2 V-shaped pieces of aluminum flashing that fit the shape of half the chimney. The 2 pieces should overlap at the seam when they're installed around the chimney. Seal the flashing around the chimney and conceal it with silicone. Be sure to build a dam around the chimney before sweeping the insulation back into place.
All right. Do you guys feel like everything was covered in that? Like, do you feel that's a good, useful section of the field guide? Or do you think it needs to be improved? Or
I think it's okay.
you guys get the intent of it, right? So this is kind of like what we're thinking about doing, is taking little sections, and we might do bigger sections sometimes. I just wanted to do a little review of a section. And it's going to be, how well it's going to work is probably dependent upon how much participation we get. And there might be, at your agencies, you guys might be discussing it on your own too. I don't know, but how do you guys feel about doing reviews like this?
I think they'd be good.
Be
Okay.
good.
All right. Burl said he likes it. So, all right. Well, that's all I had. Matt,
All right.
turn it back over to you.
Cool. Thanks, Dalton. Thanks really to everybody who's been involved with getting the field guide put together. But a special thanks to Dalton for leading that and making sure everything got turned in and submitted on time. Hopefully this will be a valuable tool to you guys. And as Dalton said, we want to continue to improve it. So as you guys come across issues or needs when you're using the field guide, just let us know anytime, because that's what we're here for. We want to make this a better tool and make your jobs, run smoother and stuff. So let's go ahead and end there. Just thanks again for everybody for joining us. And unless I hear any major feedback, we will plan to meet again on July 3rd. You guys have a great day, and we'll see y'all later.
Thanks. Good job, Dalton.
Thank you.